All right, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Hopefully this is going to work out the way I was thinking. Running at about 115 beats per minute. And good morning. Happy Tuesday morning. It's a little early today. I'm up, moving around. A lot of live stream, a lot of techno lately, a lot of live music. Been in the mood to do a lot of performing, a little less teaching. Channel has really done a good job, and I appreciate everybody out there who has subscribed or watched or contributed to comments or anything like that, because I think they're asking me to monetize now, which is really weird. So we'll see how that goes. Probably won't go very far, but I don't know, maybe, you know. In the end, today I was going to talk about some of the theory about what I do when I live stream. What do I do techno-wise? What do I do with music theory? And the last couple of streams have turned out really, really well in the sense of I feel like I've had good direction. I feel like I play the songs for a good amount of time. I feel like I do plenty of change-ups. And the idea is, where does this come from? What am I orchestrating, I'd say, when I do this, right? The idea that the microphone is blocking the OPXY right now. So it is, hidden right there, which you can see. And I would say what happens typically for me is I call it machine juggling, as not a joke, but it is kind of a joke. I juggle with the machines, right? And I do a lot of copy and paste as far as the settings on, let's say, the Digitakt, because right now that's the one that's sending the MIDI CC. When you look at tracks, so that's the one that's sending the MIDI to the poly end, and that's how I send CV to channel 1, which is a Roland Clone, channel 2, which is a 4MS wavetable, channel 3, which is the .com, and channel 4, which is the Buchla. And those are the 4 MIDI channels that I use MIDI to CV for right now, for the live stream. The monopoly usually gets played or gets ignored because I'm so busy doing other things. The OPXY kind of steals the show because it has really great strings, it has good bass, it has decent leads. So it has a couple really good, reliable things I can just recall fast. And the Digitone's the same way. I feel like there's a couple signature sounds. The first one is, of course, just this simple bass sound. The second one is the one that I think sounds like a Juno. It's my like 80s vibe, you know. The next one I like a lot is one that I've made. I think it's just Saw, Perfect Saw, yeah. It's this one, because when I use this as like a lead. And then the fourth one's usually that really stupid one that keeps dragging on. That one. It's like this magical thing, right? So I have some sounds that I feel like I lean on as the most reliable things that I go to. Okay, I'm in the mood to do this, so I go to sound whatever, right? So the .com is a Moog filter patch, and I use this as like a bass sound and a lead sound. The Roland Clone is like an SH-101, and I use that as a bass and as a lead and as melody. The 4MS voice is typically the one makes like the weirder kind of squeaks, and I think the Buchla does that. Yeah, see, so, and I do percussion with that too. So right now, the mixture of things, I can do percussion with any of the synths, but they are melodic structural things. They turn into either a melody, a bass line, or a lead line. The drums are the Digitakt, right? They're in here or they're the OPXY. The reason... Sorry, I got to get a drink. The reason I don't use any of the old machines, because I have an 808, I have an RD8, and I have a RD9. I love those machines forever, and I love using them, and sometimes they come on the stream, and sometimes I don't. But the thing that's kind of missing from them is parameter lock. Okay, and that means like on this synth as stuff's playing, if I can literally now automate so I just automated that filter in 2 seconds, right? Right. So super easy to do. Same with like any of the synths I use over there. I can clear them super easy. Here, I think the track that's playing is that one, so I can clear. See, anything can be cleared, and that's another trademark thing that I need my stuff to be able to do. Okay, so like I just cleared everything, all right, and for lack of a better, what am I doing? This is what I do. You know, I start pretty fresh. Before the stream comes on, I make a beat, I make a bass line, and I make a melody or something, right? And the key signatures I pick are all arbitrary or in my head, right? And so with the circle of fifths, when I'm writing music, a lot of times this ability to just think in my head out loud, it's not a joke. Yeah, okay, I just make sure it's something you can see. So like if I'm sitting here, C minor already just comes to mind because it's one of the ones I play on the most. Right? It's where I feel comfortable, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, flat, B, flat, C. Okay, so natural minor, so it's E flat major is the key, right? And I play here because I feel really comfortable. Michael Stein, if you're watching me, don't make fun of me, because since the days of Switched On, I think I've been really into this key. And he would laugh because I think everything I've done, or when he would make fun of me, would be E flat major. And Michael, I haven't changed much. And just so everybody knows, like sometimes habit is good because that's where your ear feels comfort. So E flat major is a key I use a lot. C major is a key I use a lot, which is A minor. So it's A, B, C, D, F, G, A. And so basically this is really a lot of times how I play music. 6. I start on the 6 as like my home. You know what I mean? So another one, and that's C major, super easy. That triangle is major 7. That's the symbol for that. And then another one I use a lot is D minor. So it depends on like, if I'm in the mood and I'm playing D minor, that means it's F flat, or it's B flat major, so it's the key of F. So it's D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D. I think I do it. Yeah. And that's F major, right? So these are just like 3 keys, let's say. And I'm going to show everybody how I morph between it in a second. Okay, so key signature ideas, something I do is like that. The other thing I'll do is, you can always pause the video if you have to go back to the keys, and I'll go back to that in a minute. But then it's like genre, right? So like the first track I do would be like house. The second song I do would be like a break. The third song I would do would be like cut time. And that's like, let's say cut time house, like a 4 on the floor, but it's just cut in half. And then the fourth beat I do would be like something like a samba or some rhythm that I know would be like, is that a castanet? I think that's what they call it, but it might be called something else. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Cut Time House. And then the fifth song I'll do might be like, so house at 115, break at 115. So I haven't even changed tempos. I'm just cutting the drum machines. If I could write today, sorry about that. I just use the drum machine to be my thing. And if I cut that in half, 115, 120, it's like 57.5 or something like that, but it's still 115. I'm just cutting the beat. And I'll show you everybody how I'm doing this, but this is BPM. Okay, so, and who knows what will happen next, So as I'm streaming, I'm going to try to go through maybe 5 songs. I try to do it within 30 to 45 minutes. And what does that mean? If I did 5 songs and 30, that means it's like 6 minutes a song, approximately. It could be as long as 8. It could be as short as 2, who knows? So these are like, this is time. This is the genre of the beat. So I'll think of things like this too, right now. So this is how my brain's kind of churning before I go play live, before I do a stream, before I do anything. And then if I'm going to practice with like a group of people that I play techno with, we're going to practice doing this over and over and over until we lock it down. Now, if somebody wanted to pre-record one of the beats so that when we recall it, we have it, I don't mind it. But I watch how much pre-planning I do because on stage, I like making accidents. Now, that might sound crazy to most of you, but it seems like when I have this set planned, now this is me, this isn't everybody else. If I plan something too much, it's a disaster, and I really mess it up live, and I don't like what I do. And I don't feel like I have the freedom to have this like flow of thought. So the last thing I'm going to share with everybody in my secret arsenal, and I might call this like flow state with music, okay? When I say flow state, there's a lot of things that I already know that I'm going to do, and it's going to be like one kick, one snare, maybe like 2 hi-hats, one tom, one percussion, and then one cymbal or something, right? So the drums at best, I'm saying is minimal, and the music itself is pretty minimal, right? In that sense that it's not super crowded. When I'm picking synths, another thing I'm going to talk about is each synth, it's not like I'm just using every single synth because I want everybody to be like, oh my God, I use a lot of synths. Maybe, but I don't use plugins. So I want the different timbre of each format. 5U, 4U, 3U, yes. I also want, that Moog is a square wave synth. The Roland one that I play with is a saw. So like, 1 square, 1 saw, so the music starts to kind of mix itself if I'm doing it right. And then I use 2 wavetables, which are wildcards. So the wavetables are 4MS's S Swan and braids, a dual braids. So wavetables give me the ability to like flip to a digital oscillator or to a classic shape versus a arbitrary function. And if you don't know arbitrary function, the word would be like the wavetables that the designer chose. And the reason I like the Swan is because I can just record my own wavetable functions. So they are ones that Joseph has created that you're like hearing my own waves that I've made on there. And I help with 4MS making presets on it too. So I think 2 of my tables are like the preset wavetables. And then there's software where you could just for days make whatever you want. So I think if you keep all of this in mind, your brain will keep telling you like why my music mixes itself. There's another thing is octaves. Each synth is in a different octave range. If one's at 32 draw, the other one's going to be at 16, the other one's going to be at 8, the other one's going to be at 4. I try not to have them all mushed together on the same, it's all bass and I have 4 bass lines playing. You wouldn't even know what was going on. And that would make you not like the music I make on stream, whether you like the music or not, or whether you're here for the education. Either way, the idea is this is the theory of how I make music. All right. Now, as dumb as this is going to sound too, all right, so we're covering the wavetables and I'm talking about the flow state of how I make music. The idea that I make subtractive patches, and this is in every world that I work with. It's like a subtractive theory. Whether I'm using wavetable, additive, whatever, FM, what I mean is most of these is an oscillator, and I typically run it through a filter. Whether the filter's on or off is my choice, right? And then there's a VCA, and then there's an ADSR, or an AHR, because the Buchla is just 2-stage. This is modifying that, and then somewhere in the patch is a mod source, and I'm not going to say it's just LFO, because it might be an LFO, it might be a sequencer, it might be a random source. All right. So every patch, that one, the wavetable with the 4MS one is the Swan through a Roland filter through a VCA with an envelope, and then there's an LFO running somewhere inside of the wavetable. So this is the patch on every single thing that I'm doing. Oscillator is the square wave over here. It goes into the Moog filter. It goes into an amp, and then it goes out. And there's a envelope generator and an LFO, which is one of my oscillators going a little faster to modify the square. So every single patch is this patch. Even in the Digitakt and Digitone, there's like the voices, let's call it, like voice could be up to 8 of them in the Digitone, and they go through a filter, and then they go through a VCA, and they're controlled by an ADSR. So that's even in the Digitone. And then in the Digitakt, it's like sample, filter, VCA, and there's ADSR, so everything is this theory. This is all the same regardless of the machine I play on and regardless of what I'm doing. So the redundancy is enormous. Hopefully that makes some sort of sense. And let me just go and say, first thing is the keys that I typically play in, I have those in my head. How much time I'm going to play for, what genres am I going to run through, that's kind of in my head. The flow state, make sure your drums are simple. No, dude. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Okay, sorry. So I make sure it's very simple, the drums themselves, and I don't want a lot of clutter. And then everybody's at their own octave and has their own shape as far as the synths. All right. And then last but not least, each patch, subtractive in nature, because there's like a filter in the tether and a VCA and an envelope. But the synthesis mode may be something like FM, an analog voice, a digital. It'll be a lot of like other things, right? Okay, so let's talk about pulling this stuff off. How do we actually make it work? So, drum machine, I say track 1 on the drum machine. I go to the sample source, which what sample are we using? And I'm going to say kick drum, so I'm going to go find 707 kick. I say yes, and there's our kick drum. It's like that fast. Now, say I picked house as the first genre. Then I go to my snare drum, and I pick the snare I want, which that says 808, so let me just pick 707 snare. And in this, I have effects. There's some reverb, there's a little delay. And then if I want to control the delay time, all right, and then there's hi-hats. I'm going to pick a sample for that. I'm going to go to 707. Sounds like a march already, right? All right, so easy enough, right? And then a second hi-hat I'll pick. And the trick here is I'll pick a different drum machine, but I'll make sure they're tight. I don't want them like... All right. Now, C minor was the first key I was going to pick. So I'm going to be on the Digitone side, right? And I live play a lot of stuff in, and that's why you'll see me make mistakes and hit clear a lot when I'm playing. But let's say right now I'm going to play a chord progression, and let's say I play like a 6, you know, which is, and let's say I play, which would be a 2, and then I can play 1, or I can just play like 6. We're making techno. It doesn't have to be complex. Okay, and I make sure that this is running at 4 bars. So 4 bars, live record. The drums are my metronome. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I messed up. It's okay. Well, I didn't mess up. I just didn't play on the... That was muted, so sometimes that happens. Okay. So there's our bed that I start with, right? And then in the bass world, same, you know. So now I'm going to record this. Ready? 1, 2, 2, 3, and go. Super easy, right? And then so the idea that I go for simplicity for the groove, right? Like, can I make a groove fast, right? And then I'm going to go to the ride cymbal now, and I'm going to load, you know, like a 707 ride. Because the ability to make like a verse chorus kind of back and forth, the language of the music is what you want. Is there really no ride? What did I load? Oh yeah, right here. Volume, decay, reverb, you know. Right? And so now if I needed another break, now the lead sound is going to happen next, right? So I would be like, break. And so OPXY. And you're thinking, okay, I'm going to hit record over here, but I got to know how long I'm going to be recording for. and right now it's 4 bars at cut time. So that's actually going to be 128 bars. It's going to be a good amount of time. And now you see the reason why I record lead over here, because I got plenty of time. So there it is, right? And that recording was easy. It was ready to record live, right? And when I want to come back to the drums, I just unmute whatever I was doing before. Right? And now I'll do development in my drums where I'm going to make the tom-tom come out, right? We're going to get rid of that lead in a minute. Super simple. And if I don't want it every time, then I'll make the drums 2 bar, right? Right, so there we go, super easy. And then to get rid of the lead sound, I'll just use like an envelope generator and I'll shorten it. So, you know, it's just like fading out, but I have that a little bit of popcorn ticking in the back, right? And now I can just go over to the .com and get ready to do my next recording, right? So it's track 3 MIDI, right? That's it. I mean, I just did a loop. And now, okay, my other trick is I have the +3 controlling the filter over there. So this little thing on the desk by Endorphins and Loop Pop is one of my favorite little toys. Let me stop everything. Sorry, I'm talking. Because when I play a synth, my ability to control it from the table when it's way over there is so much easier. So that is the main breakdown of this whole entire rig and everything that I'm doing. You know, with a lot of my teaching, I tell students that breaking things down to the most minimal component is super important. And, you know, I've built synths for years and I love synthesizers. So for me, it's not hard understanding like a complex workflow. But at the most basic core, this stuff is really set up simple. I'm not someone who's trying to make the most prolifically crazy stuff either. I'm trying to make minimal techno. So I think when you're watching the stream and you're thinking, well, how is he preparing for this? Or how does he get ready? When I'm not streaming, I'm constantly playing music and testing keys and chord changes and progressions. The next stream I want to talk about is the special board I have that I have all my progressions written on. When I'm practicing my keyboard, I practice progressions in different keys, and then that way when I'm streaming, I'm like, oh yeah, I was practicing, you know, B flat this the other day, or I was practicing, oh my God, yeah, that A sharp thing that I was messing with, you know, that will kind of transpire into the stream what I've been practicing recently. And having pre-made beats or a beat that I've already made in my head to just program as fast as I can, it might have been a beat I was working on a track or a project the day before or a couple days ago. So a lot of times as I'm streaming, what you're hearing is what I call stream of consciousness. It is the flow state of like, oh yeah, I'm going to grab something I wrote the other day, and I'm going to grab something I wrote 4 days ago, and I'm going to... And then I glue all that together in a 30-minute stream, you know, as I perform. And when I'm in a very confident mood, it's easy for me to just play and play and play and have fun. And when I'm not feeling myself, sometimes it's a little tougher because a lot of that I'm channeling from within in real time. You know, this is not some AI thing. It's not somebody generating it for me, you know. And I've made a lot of my music like this since, I think, 2000 and 12. It's really been that long that this is how I perform. So I think, has it been, 13 years of me working on this workflow just like this, with I think that's when I started using the Octatrack and controlling synthesizers. I was using other devices like sequencers, and everything would be MIDI together, but I was never at what I call like a centerpiece sitting, and when you see me stream, I feel like the Swedes got me, all right, well, hopefully everybody had a good day, checking out the workflow and me explaining what I'm doing. I may do another stream later of me jamming. I probably most definitely will, because I'm going to play music in a little bit. But so what's going on in front of you when you're watching me, if you want some advice or some tips on like how you should stream, or how you should perform, or how you should make a voice, I'm always here for you. If you want to ask or you want to talk to me about it, let me know. I don't ever mind. I saw a video yesterday of like Cuckoo talking about how he sets up the Digitakt 2 to perform, or Digitone 2 to perform, because I think he's crushing it on that thing. His new record, if you haven't bought it, go buy his new record. It's really good. If you haven't liked and subscribed to this channel, do it. I'm here hanging out. If you need anything, comment the channel. If you want to email me privately, outofthebag.org has all my contact. I'm working on a project today too, helping people with like push and everything like that. So my brain's been in a very musical state. And that's why I always say, if anybody needs anything, let me know. And hopefully you're enjoying some of the content and some of the stuff that I'm making online. So enjoy the rest of your day.